Suresh Prabhuji.
So thank you, sir. So since the budget has been presented to the Parliament, there have been innumerable reactions to the budget. Unfortunately, each section of the society being disappointed with what the Finance Minister has presented to us. And in that backdrop, we are discussing this budget today. Sir, if you ask me, how do you describe it? So this budget lacks vision, as is very clear, because there is no effort to stimulate growth in the budget. In fact, sir, I must point out that not only all society, I should have mentioned even the civil society, which was supporting various initiatives of this government, had come out with a very interesting document called Vada Na Todo Abhiyan, in which they have mentioned that common minimum program of the government, which is supposed to be the cornerstone of the policy of this government, is not being implemented. So, sir, I was saying the lack of vision. This budget also sans imagination to deal with our present challenges. And I will give one or two examples for that. One is the renewables. So the country is facing such huge energy crisis. We were thinking that renewable energy, which needs support, probably the budget will provide at least some budgetary support for research and development. There is no such mention, as well as to deal with fiscal challenges. I will come to it later. So this budget is timid and tentative because there is no bold measures to build reforms, because again, the supply side constraint which Finance Minister had talked about means we have to release the supply by bringing more reforms, which there is no attempt. Sir, there is a full confusion in the policy framework of this government, as is cleared in various aspects, including power, in dealing with inflation, dealing with agriculture, and also one of the points that the minister has done to deal with State Bank of India holding, in which the shares have been transferred from the Reserve Bank of India into the government. And in fact, Mr. Tarapur, whose name he had mentioned last time I had asked him a question, also has criticized it incidentally. So this also shows a confusion. So it's a real patchwork in many areas and lacks holistic action. And that is very clear. The Farmers Commission was appointed under an eminent scientist of Dr. M. S. Swaminathan. Report has been submitted. No action has been taken so far. That is true for Knowledge Commission. Another very brilliant person, Sam Pitroda, report has come. The first report has been submitted. There is no mention in this budget. There is no action on that. And integrated energy policy. So another challenge, first time there is an effort to bring about a holistic view of energy policies pursued by different ministries. Dr. Kirit Parekh submitted a report. There is no action, no mention, and no initiation on that count. And water. So there are 10 ministries and different arms of the state dealing with water, and therefore we see a patchwork of various initiatives on water, but there is no holistic action on that either. So this budget is full of platitudes, symbolism, and talks about cosmetic action. One example is climate change. So Minister has rightly mentioned climate change as a challenge, but when the Finance Minister speaks about that in his budget speech, is there any provision made for that in the budget? Any financial provision made for it? So there is a big challenge before us. Adaptation of climate change is a challenge. Some amount should have been provided for that. There is no mention. Besides just mentioning about it, no financial provision. And sir, this budget is insensitive because the farmers are committing suicide. The figure is crossing every day. It is like the Indian cricketers are not scoring at that fast rate, at the rate at which the farmers are committing suicide. And there is no mention. The rural economy, which is in distress, there is no mention about it. And even internal security, which is another challenge of the common man. Unfortunately, you see that this budget doesn't talk about it. So this is the broad description of the budget in my opinion. Sir, one of the cornerstones of the budget, as has been pointed out by the Finance Ministry, is a thrust on equity. Sir, let us analyze equity from the budgetary provisions that Finance Minister has made. Sir, agriculture, as is mentioned by the Finance Minister, has a first charge on the budget. Sir, there is no better lawyer than Mr. Chidambaram in the country, and therefore when he says the first charge, that means the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth charge holders cannot get anything unless the first charge is satisfied. So the farmers are 63% of the population of India. Do you mean to say that a budget has allocated 63% of the resources for farmers? So this year, the GDP of agriculture has fallen to 18.5%. And the investment, the public investment, which used to be 2.2% of our GDP in 90s, has also fallen to 1.9% of the GDP. So there is a correlation. The population has remained almost the same, the GDP share has fallen, and the public investment has not increased, but it has fallen. And therefore, in this backdrop, when the finance minister is targeting 4% growth rate in agriculture, I'm really wondering how will it happen. But I'm not the only one who is a skeptic about it. Mr. Dr. Abhijit Seth, the member of Planning Commission, one of the good authority on agriculture, has today only mentioned in one of the interview that 4% target in agriculture is virtually impossible. And therefore, the thrust in agriculture should have been how to increase income of the farmers, how to provide them better market access, and how to provide better insurance cover to make sure that the risk that a farmer takes is avoided so that he is not forced to commit suicide. So I find, unfortunately, no such bold initiative, and that's what I was saying, there's a confusion in the minds of the government to deal with agriculture, and therefore we are seeing such a crisis here. So I would request the finance minister, if he really wants to talk about first charge, he has started an initiative of gender budgeting. I think he should start a gender budgeting so that we'll really know how much of the money is going into whatever different sectors, rural sector, agriculture and others, and that's what really required. So this budget to deal with agriculture should have come out with a very comprehensive policy on soil, land and water. In fact, the soil erosion, which is in fact a serious challenge, which is also causing the adverse productivity in agriculture. The water, in fact, is incidentally is a major challenge, but this, unfortunately, this budget doesn't deal with this. So other challenge that we are facing today, and therefore we can compare this from the equity angle, when we talk about employment. Sir, how many new jobs have been created? I think this is again required that a budget must specify during this year how many new jobs have been created. If the finance minister can keep giving us so much of information, one is mandated by the Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act, he should also give us the new figures about how many new jobs have been created. So this budget hardly addresses the employment problem. In fact, the labor-intensive jobs, which is the really crying need of the hour, there is no incentive to actually create these jobs. Services sector, which is growing so fast, it means if you want to enter the services job market, you must possess requisite skills. There is hardly any effort, besides dealing with ITIs and some other cosmetic issues, to deal with upgrading skills of the multitude of the population of India, and therefore employment, which is again another parameter besides agriculture to judge equity, actually, unfortunately, this budget fails to address it. Food and nutritional security is another important aspect of the National Common Minimum Program of this government. Sir, Sampurna Gramin Rozgar Yojana, which guaranteed jobs to the rural people, in that there was an element of providing some amount by way of food as a compensation for the job. So this year, as is mentioned in the budget, the year of the 2006-2007, the allocation for food has been dropped from 5 kgs to 3 kgs. You can imagine if there is a drop of 40% in the food intake, how the food and nutritional security of this multitude of people will be affected. So other challenge of equity is the backward regions. In fact, we must bridge the gap between the regions which are developing very fast and the region like the one I represent in the parliament, the Konkan, how it can really catch up. In fact, there is no attempt to bridge this gap. In fact, there is a very interesting statistic which he has mentioned that the FDI has gone up to $12.5 billion. The Reserve Bank of India says that 46.52% of the FDI have gone into only 2 centers of RBI, New Delhi and Mumbai. Sir, to take this issue of finding out the equity is corporates are taxed at different rates as is brought out. And in fact, he has said that the corporates are taxed at about 19.2% on an average. Sir, the corporates making profit of 0 to 1 crore are taxed at a rate of 24.29%. And corporates making profit of 500 crores and more are taxed at 19.10%. So what is the extent of equity? One can very easily make out. Sir, the only equity, only benefit that a common man has got out of these various provisions in the budget is that 83 rupees saving per month from income tax liability that he has got. So you can imagine how the equity issue has really been addressed. In fact, when we talk about gender budgeting, it is important to know, to make sure that the equity is actually in favor of that weaker section of the society, the gender budget, gender balance we have to keep. Is 50% of the allocation in this budget, is it made for the women? I think sadly no, and therefore equity angle, this budget fails to address the issue that we want. In fact, 22% of the total expense of the government is only on social sectors, only 22%. And that really means that equity, unfortunately, is not addressed at all in this budget. So other issue, other thrust area of this finance minister budget was the fiscal issues. So it is true that the revenue deficit is falling, the fiscal deficit is falling as percentage of GDP. And therefore he has said that now we are aiming at fiscal consolidation. So I will not call it fiscal consolidation, and I will tell you why. I will call it fiscal improvement. Why it is not consolidation? So debt servicing liability of the country is now 4,21,219 crores against the revenue of 4,86,422 crores. So I am worried that we are probably entering a debt trap. Sir, 32.7% of the current revenue of the government is used to pay only interest liability of the country. So you can imagine it's a serious challenge for fiscal situation, and that is also getting reflected into the debt of the country. So as per the economic survey, the 59.2% of the GDP is in public debt. But very interestingly, there is a very interesting survey which is published by Economist only a few days ago. It says that India's public debt is 80% of its GDP. And in fact, it is one of the highest amongst the countries who are now emerging as the new economies of the world. And therefore, this is a very serious problem which unfortunately the budget doesn't solve. And therefore, I will not call it a fiscal consolidation. It is only at the best a fiscal improvement. And therefore, we have to look at this issue very carefully. In fact, this will also have a repercussion because the interest rates are rising. I would like to find out from the finance minister whether in his new budget 2007-2008, what rate you have taken the interest liability of the government. If the interest keeps rising, the rate are rising, probably the interest liability in the expenditure budget also will have to rise significantly, and therefore fiscal consolidation cannot be said to be like this. Other very interesting issue, under the fiscal ban, FBRM, Fiscal Management and Responsibility Act, Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act, FRBM, the government is obliged also to restrict the guarantees under the Rule 6 of that act to 5.5%, half percent of the GDP. So this year, the guarantees given by the government are 0.7%. 0.2% more than what is mandated under the FRBM Act. That means fiscal consolidation, if you take any of the tests, really does not meet with that, and therefore I consider it as a very serious challenge. In fact, 45% of the debt that I talked about, a huge debt, is in fact used in the past over so many years. I'm not blaming only this finance minister for that, over a long period of time, only to meet the revenue expenditure of the country. So that means to the extent of this 45% of the debt of the country for which we are paying interest every year and year, there are no assets which are available with the country. And in fact, that is also getting reflected into a very interesting statistic that excess liabilities of the central government or assets is to the tune of 12,46,737 crores. So if you take all these issues in totality, can you ever say that fiscal consolidation has taken place? I will not say no. So third issue is, and I must...
You would also add that the FRBM Act is notified by this government.
The previous government did not have either the courage or the wisdom to notify the Act. We notified the Act.
But you also concede that the Act was passed by the previous government.
Act was passed by Parliament. Act was passed by Parliament.
No, not
No, wait a minute. Act was passed by Parliament. power was given to the executive to notify the act. Your government did not notify the act.
But that bill was introduced by that government to the parliament so that it could pass it. And Mr. Chidambaram, if you recall, the day you notified it, you extended the applicability of the act by 1 year. Yeah.
Why we extended it? Because you lost 1 year in not notifying it.
I know. So you
Just a moment.
neutralized.
We wanted 5 years. The law contemplated 5 years to reach the target. You lost 1 year in not notifying it. So when I came, I had 4 years left. Therefore, we added 1 more year so that we'll have a full 5 years.
So maybe,
Did not say
Please.
what happened in finance
No, I will-
committee. What your people did,
Mr.
that,
Swen.
did not say that.
Please take your seat. No, no.
Know it.
no, I
You
know.
will know
So,
it.
no.
Please, Swen, please take your seat.
But I concede the point what Mr. Chidambaram is saying is that previous government took 1 year to notify it, so he increased it by 1 more year, so it is neutral. Now we can verify it on a neutral basis, so it's on a level playing field. So sir, the other issue is about promise versus performance. So look at the system that was started in the past about giving compliance to the promises made. That again was started by the previous finance minister, Mr. Yashwant Sinha. Sir, one of the promise that this finance minister made last budget is that one port is going to be developed in West Bengal. I'm sure my friends from West Bengal must have been very happy. So what is the progress of that in the last 1 year? Final selection of a consultant is going to be done very soon. So this is the progress from last 1 year about development of a port in West Bengal. So second issue about Mumbai was sought to be created. Mumbai is to be now developed as a financial center of the world. What is the development so far? The only development is a report has been submitted and action has to be taken. So this is what is going on for last 3 years. So therefore, sir, other issue on which we can judge the budget is on the growth. Sir, finance minister concluded his speech by saying that I could not have given thrust to all these different things of putting in so much money of 1 lakh scholarship, 1 lakh jobs for physically challenged if there was no growth. And growth is a mantra, which I agree. In fact, I support it. I really feel that economy has to grow. But this budget, unfortunately, does not target, not only does not target to increase the growth rate, but also fails to maintain. And I hope that growth rate of 9.2% that we have witnessed recently will be maintained in this budget year. And therefore, so growth is not there. And then efficiency. Sir, it is a very big challenge. And this is again a structural challenge. The efficiency of expenditure, the effectiveness of money that is spent has to be measured. And this has been highlighted time and again. In fact, the Prime Minister made a first statement that our vehicle of change has to be administrative reform because the cost of money that we incur on implementing any government program is too high. So only instrument. Now the finance ministry has got, as his advisor Mr. Shom has also mentioned in one of his interview today, that the only instrument we have got is outcome budget. Sir, it was very well-intentioned program of this finance minister. I congratulate him. But sir, if you look at the outcome of the outcome budget, it is disastrous. It is not prepared by you. It is prepared by various ministries. But you must really look at it. But therefore, sir, I don't want to simply criticize it by telling I am a chartered accountant. So we have appointed a committee under my self-appointed. We will submit to you very soon how outcome budget should really be prepared. I hope it will help you. This is just to help you to make sure. But sir, the quality of public expenditure is a big challenge and we really need to deal with this. So other challenge that we have is inflation. And again, I am saying there is a confusion and I will explain to you why. So inflation, as per the admission of the government, is caused by two factors. One, supply side constraint. Another is the money supply that is increasing. So what is the best way to address the supply side constraint? So in fact, the same article that I referred to earlier, Economist article, talks about overheating of Indian economy, and it says that we really need the reforms on the demand side, on the supply side, so that more and more capacity can be unleashed. In fact, Mr. Chidambaram will also definitely give credit where it is due, that the previous government's initiative of reforming in various sectors allowed this government to grow at 9% in last 3 years' time. If you don't reform now and unleash these productive forces that are really waiting for such release, how can our economy grow at 9%? And therefore, sir, I really want that supply side constraint is a challenge, which I agree, and therefore we really need to do that. To get our supply side constraint,
please.
sir, like you, sir, I'm actually, sir, you are sitting here, sir, please give me that much time, sir. Sir, how do you address the supply
Your
side
party
constraint?
time is limit.
Please, I'm limiting, sir, I'm done. Sir, on supply side constraint, how to get over it in a short term? We are trying to import
30 minutes.
certain goods. So to import, that means we are already straining our already strained current account situation. So our current account deficit is really rising. It could be 5% if you exclude the remittances. So this is what I'm talking about economics. No. I'm talking about something which economists have said. If you want, I can produce. So their estimation, if you exclude the $21 billion of remittances that we are getting, no, that is what they are excluding. I'm not excluding. I'm just so sometimes, but sometimes you quote economics. So if I quote economics, what do you call it?
Why should the remittances
This be excluded. Which country excludes remittances? Our workers abroad, Indians abroad, remit money to their families. We are the largest recipient of private remittances. The whole world is envious about our remittances. Just because one magazine says, I'm not sure it said it in those words, excluded. Why should it be excluded? Do you share that view? Do you share the logic that it should be excluded? Why should it be excluded? It is money being sent to our country. Why should it be excluded?
The logic given by them.
There's no logic there. I've read the
I know.
article.
The logic given by the economists is that remittances is not either creating demand here. This is something which is external to entire economy. So therefore, I know, but what I'm saying is sometimes you can, the World Economic Forum, we try to take umbrage under some of this benefit that economists say about. So why not here? So if it suits. So sir, so therefore import are rising. In fact, I'll give an example. On fertilizer, this year we have imported 46 lakh tons of urea. What does it mean? As a result of which the subsidy bill has gone up only on account of imported urea. The subsidy amount is 2,703 crores, which in fact is 25% of the total subsidy of urea in the country. That means when you are importing something, it has also cost. So therefore, to supply side constraint need to be addressed by import in short possible time. There is no problem. But to deal with only on that count will also create a problem. That's what I want to say. So the second issue is money supply. 21.3% growth in money supply on a year-to-year basis. The foreign exchange reserves are $180 billion. In last few months, the RBI has increased the CRR, now it is 6%, and also the repo and the reverse repo rate. As a result of which, the cost of financing has gone up. In fact, we are always wanting that India should be a low-cost economy. One of the ways to do that is to reduce the financial cost. If the interest keep rising to suppress the demand, it is also going to have a serious challenge. And therefore, who is bearing this high cost of interest is a common man when he is going and buying an household goods, maybe like fridge, TV somewhere, or buying a house, yes, or a small scale industry which is actually has to bear brunt for it. And therefore, I request the finance minister, maybe as a course of holistic way to address this problem of inflation as well as dealing with forex reserves, we should come out with a complete blueprint about how we need to deal all these issues in a holistic way, including managing our forex reserves, which are now growing, and in fact they are growing at a cost to us because the Reserve Bank of India constantly buys dollars in the market, and that's how the piling of foreign exchange reserve is taking place. So the issue relates to infrastructure. $320 billion as per the economic survey is needed for infrastructure in the next 5-year plan, which is going to begin next month. Sir, power needs huge investment. In fact, the power sector in this budget has not got any investment for generation from the budget. Of course, the extra budgetary support for companies like NTPC and others is there. But the real problem of power sector lies in the fact that sector is not commercially viable. If power sector is commercially viable like telecommunication, automatically investments can start flowing into the power sector. But it is not commercially viable because the transmission and sub-transmission and distribution sector is really bleeding, losing money, and we need to fix that problem. We had started a program for that called APRDP, Accelerated Power and Reform Development Program. The increase for that program in this budget is virtually cosmetic. Again, this budget talks about increasing the universal coverage of electrification, which is really required, Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana. Rural areas, there are probably 45% of the households are not yet electrified. So we need to electrify them. But if we electrify those villages without increasing and augmenting the capacity that is required to feed those programs, then those houses will not only be just will have bulb, but not have electricity. So probably we'll have to use a candlelight in those villages to find out where is the bulb burning. And therefore we really need a comprehensive strategy to deal with that. Also more capacity increase is required. And my request to the government will be that we are prepared, I was when as the Minister of Power, a blueprint for power sector development. If you can implement it in a holistic way, it will really address the problem. And this is not a challenge before the country. So we really need to address it. So other issue on infrastructure is private-public partnership. In fact, we have heard about it for a long time. And therefore PPP, I think now somebody is thinking that PPP itself is a project which is going to solve the problem. But it has really not taken off because the regulatory framework that was required for that, like for example, the least budget subsidy that was required for that, there are so many issues which are related to it and not been addressed so far. Sir, on education, yes sir. On education, we have a challenge because 2% of our students only undergo vocational training, unlike 65% in Germany or 75 to 80% in China. And therefore, quality of education is a challenge. In fact, economic survey makes a very interesting comment. The child who is studying in 8th standard, what he normally should have studied in 2nd standard. So to increase the coverage by bringing more schools and bringing 200,000 more teachers, anyway there is a study made by Prathamesh that 50% of the teachers do not attend school and still are paid salary. So we really need to be careful to make sure that more allocation will result into better quality output. In health, so still we are far away from our cherished dream. 2,000 new sub-centers, 4,000 public health centers, primary health centers, and 3,000 community centers are still to happen. In fact, 20,000 sub-centers. We are spending today only 1.39% of GDP on health, whereas the target was always 3%. And therefore, sir, I will wind up by making few suggestions to the Finance Minister. One, so fisheries creates 14 million jobs in India. This budget does not provide any incentive for more fisheries development. In fact, the fishermen are losing their income because of climate change. Because of this vulnerability of climate, they are losing money. So 14 million jobs, not only you need to create more, but you need to protect the jobs. This unfortunately has not happened. Secondly, the plantation program that the minister has announced in his budget speech to cover cashew and coconut, welcome. But why not mango? Because mango is something which can be treated as par with coconut and cashew, and therefore mango also needs a same support from plantation program like what we need to do. And sir, as a long-term measure, I think the minister must set up a group to look into how the government accounts at local level, at the state level, at the central level, in a way can actually bring about some convergence so that the money which is sent from central to the state, state to the local government, there can be a proper assessment of output out of that. And that is a really need. And with the information technology available to us, we really need a new government code in accounts. I hope minister announces it, it will happen after a few years, but then it will always be better to do that. Sir, 1857, we are completing 150 years of that memorable year. I think, sir, this is a year in which we should try to spend more money on programs which can bring about a total nationalistic fervor in the minds of people. So patriotism is a software which is required for the country to grow. Japan grew not because they had now their second largest economy, because they had that patriotism in them. And therefore I think we really need to work on that. And sir, just winding up, sir. So cooperatives also need trust because for a simple reason is that in a market economy, when either the state has to work or the private sector has to work, there is a possibility that there can be a third sector which can be intermediary between the two, and that's cooperatives. So I think we really need to look at cooperatives with a totally different way, and I think this budget unfortunately does not address it. Sir, environment, forest and wildlife should be the thrust area of any country, and in our neighbor China, what is seeing is, though they are now growing so fast, the environmental quality is degrading every day, and in fact they will have to spend huge amount of money to repair those natural resources. So I think we really need to focus on this and actually have, like you have, one financial advisor in each ministry, you must have one environmental advisor in all the ministries. In fact, Mr. Saifuddin Soz, who is sitting next to you, as my then predecessor in Forest Ministry, will also agree with that. And sir, internal security, which again I was saying earlier, is a challenge. In fact, sir, Prime Minister said after some of these mishap that happened in the country, that our intelligence network needs a complete revamp. Sir, I was just curiously going through the non-plan expenditure on Intelligence Bureau.